Greetings everyone, and welcome to a very special stream. Today we are going to be doing an all puzzles tutorial. We do already have a tutorial which was made by Super, although the tutorial is about 2 years old now, and we found some strategy improvements as well as some execution improvements since that time. So although Super's tutorial is quite excellent and really a great starting point, and certainly helped me learn the all puzzles run and cut my time literally in half from the first time that I played it. I sort of felt like it might be time for an updated version, since we've had a couple new world records and lots of PBs, really just in the last month or two, I want to say. So again, I hope you enjoy this, and without any further ado, we'll get started. Actually, first of all, we're going to disable these Steam alerts because seriously, there's nothing more annoying, at least for me, than Steam alerts. But anyway, so just a quick overview of the category. We play through all the puzzles, with the exception of the two endless categories, because of course those don't have a finite end. So what we're looking to do here, you'll see that there are 9 vase breaker levels and 9 iZombie levels, and the rules state that you have to beat them all in order. So unfortunately, we don't get a lot of flexibility about getting some of the more difficult or some of the more RNG dependent levels out of the way. You got to play them in order, and that's it. And again, ideally, once you're relatively skilled, you should be able to get down to about a time of 15 minutes, and the world record right now is just over 12 minutes. So that's what we got. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is buy the rake. It's $200, so really you'll make that up pretty much every single attempt. Not an expensive sort of thing. So go to the shop and buy the rake. And the advantage that does is it gives you the rake in the first 3 levels, and the rake kills one zombie that walks over it, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but of course, if you have an average of maybe 10 to 20 zombies per level, that little 5 to 10% efficiency can actually make a decent difference in your time. So what I'm going to do first to sort of structure all of these levels is in 2 parts. The first part is I'm going to be going over talking about the levels, doing a couple of resets per level, just to sort of show you some of the different layouts that you might get. And then basically after I'm done talking about them, I'm going to perform the level as if I was performing it in an actual run. And so that's why I have my splits open, because I want to sort of show you like what my time actually would have been if I'd sort of played through the run, actually, and then I'll sort of, pause maybe briefly to sort of talk about what went right, and what went wrong with that particular level. So again, without any further ado, we're going to jump right into Vase Breaker. So the first level that you have up is Vase Breaker. What's interesting about this level is that there are enough squashes to kill every single zombie in the level except for 4 of them. So I'll just sort of show you, again, roughly what the level looks like, and then I'm going to pause very briefly to sort of talk about some of the strategies. So again, I'll try my best to move this out of the way. So what you'll see here is you get a mix of snow peas and regular pea shooters, along with some squashes and that's about it. So you can see that hopefully most of the time, 1 out of the 4 zombies that you have, I think, again, if I count correctly, there are 5 squashes and 8 zombies. And again, hopefully as you can see here, 1 of the zombies is going to die to the rake. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's important that you keep that in mind. So the strategy that we usually use for the rest of the zombies is one of 2 things. Either we try to slow down the zombies enough that we can kind of group them together and kill multiple zombies with a single squash, or we try to kill some of the regular zombies just with the normal pea shooters. So what I can see is I broke all the vases already. You don't necessarily want to do that in a legitimate attempt. But again, viewing it right here, sort of what my immediate reaction would have been is, okay, these 2 zombies are very, very close together, so I'm going to put a snow pea in front of this zombie to try to, again, group them up and use a squash. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for these zombies right here at the very bottom, and then I'm going to try to kill this zombie with regular pea shooters. And a good rule of thumb is that you want about 2 pea shooters per zombie that you're killing by hand, so to speak. And then of course you always want to kill the bucket heads using the squash. So just sort of playing this one out like I would have, I think I would have played it something like this. Gone like this. then 2, 3. Oops. I gotta slow this up. I already messed it up a little bit because I spent so long doing that. But if I hadn't lost that squash right there, you can see these zombies would have aligned very, very nicely, and I would have been able to use the squash to kill them like normal. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reset the level and sort of try to play it at full speed, and then basically pause my attempt once I'm done with it. Welcome, by the way, Lafilla. So all right, 3, 2, 1. Oops. You can see here. I'm going to try to slow this down. I know I'm going to need to kill a couple of these zombies by hand. Unfortunately, this one was relatively bad, and I probably would have reset it in an actual attempt. But we're gonna continue onwards. The next one is to the left. So again, just kind of giving an overview of what this level looks like. All right. So a few things that I want to talk about here. The interesting part of this level is that the real threats in this level are the bucket heads, and there are 3 of them. And there's 1 rake, and then 2 potato mines. As well as sort of a lot of these, I'm going to call them repeaters, even though they're sort of like broken split piece, so to speak. And then a couple of walnuts. So what I would want to do in this level is basically you try to kill all of the regular zombies just using the repeaters and snow peas and whatever else. Hopefully you can kill one of the bucket heads with the rake. But if you can't, there's a few other ways that you might want to go about doing that. In general, again, you want to try to do at least 1 bucket head per potato mine, and then sometimes you can get lucky if they're both in the same row and do 2 per potato mine. But if not, you can just kill them. I usually try to use a combination of about 3 repeaters in order to make that happen. So again, getting back to the game, again, I know I was a little bit delayed, so I'm gonna sort of do like a mix of some of these strategies. 1, 2. And again, you can see that I stalled this guy out just a little bit. Killed him with the... I actually played this level very, very well. This is a great demonstration of what the level would have looked like. Again, kind of getting back to my attempt. I know my timing is going to be a little bit off, but we'll just kind of continue with it for what it is. I actually don't have the rake because I've done a couple of resets at this point, but... Right, you can see here, I'm going to try to get this to the side. I'm going to take on an interesting strategy here. 1, 2. You can see here, I slowed this zombie down enough, so this way I can be sure that the bucket head hits the potato mine. I actually should have dug that up just a little bit sooner. Again, my split times are going to be off, so I might actually just reset that altogether. I think just doing it in real time is going to be easier. And that's basically to the left. Again, there's a lot of decision making involved in that one. Again, which zombies do I kill with the potato mines? Which do I kill by hand? Which do I worry about the rake? And again, just making sure that you sort of align them as best you can. And a good way to do that is by using the snow pea and the walnuts. So moving on to third vase, and we'll sort of talk a little bit about what this level looks like. Oops. All right, and again, the biggest threat on this level, believe it or not, is not the bucket heads, but rather the disco zombie. And again, you normally don't want to necessarily break all of the vases like that because you just don't necessarily have enough time to put down all the plants at time. But the real goal is going to be to you really want to deal with the disco zombie as fast as possible. Otherwise, he keeps spawning more and more zombies, and it's a real problem. So if you're very, very quick, you can plant the squash about 1.5 squares in front of him, and hopefully kill him before he spawns any any zombies at all. You can see I was a little bit late there, but if I'd been just a little bit sooner, I would have been able to kill those zombies right there. I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration of what that would look like. The other very important thing is making sure that you use the hypnos and or the squashes on all the bucket heads, because otherwise you're going to be spending a long time dealing with them. And the advantage of the hypno is if the buckethead zombie is in the front, you can really do a good job kind of clearing him out. So kind of clearing out other zombies that are in that row. So doing this. And again, you know, just obviously you want more firepower in the rows. And again, it was a little bit difficult for me here to deal with that. But again, you can sort of see what the level would have looked like. And actually, this ended up being an okay level. A little bit slow right here, again, because I ended up losing some plants just due to things. But that was a pretty good demonstration of what third phase is. The next one is chain reaction. So, actually, I guess I didn't play through third phase in real time. So I'm actually going to go because I would have had the rake for it, and I'll just be sure to reset that out. So again, just kind of looking at again, a lot of times I'll want to go here first. Again, you can see here, I know that there's a lot of zombies in this row looking like a little bit of a threat, so I'm going to want to deal with those guys. Unfortunately here. The other thing you can do, like you can see right here, is planting a walnut in front of the disco zombie, just to make sure he doesn't move forward and doesn't spawn anymore. That's another good way to sort of play them up. Again, not a great demonstration of what that level would have looked like. I would look again towards some other people's PBs to look a little closer at that. But again, that's a pretty good example there. And again, I'm just going to reset out the rake right here. The next one, again, we don't have the rake for this level, is chain reaction. So again, this level, you'll see has a lot of Jack-in-the-Box zombies. So really what we found is the optimal strategy is actually to break all of the vases in advance. Again, what you can do here sometimes is try to use as much firepower as you can and plant the hypno zombies. Try to use the hypno zombies or the hypno shrooms effectively so that the zombies eat each other and help the level move along a little bit more. So what I try to do on this level is, you'll see this will be my actual demonstration, is I actually sort of start with some of these middle vases here, because the Jack-in-the-Box explosions can actually save you some time from needing to click around and try to break all the vases. Again, you'll see sort of here and here we get a pretty good example, and again you'll see here. Again, here's a good example of again where I would maybe use a hypno shroom. Gonna need a little bit of extra firepower on this one here, and again making sure you actually do break all the vases. And again, there's a pretty good example of how quickly that one can go. This is often the shortest level in the run. Not a lot to it. Again, very important though, just to make sure that you do use the hypno on the football zombie, and you try to use your other hypnos to get a little bit extra efficiency by having the zombies kill the other zombies, and then of course just using your firepower effectively. So moving on to M is for metal. Again, just taking a quick look at sort of overall what this level looks like. Again, without as many vases to be broken here. Again, you can see a lot of metallic zombies here, and they give you a combination of repeaters, squashes, magnets, and so forth. So this is probably the most complex level that we look at. So usually what I'll start to do on this one is actually break all the vases in the back, and then try to plant some of my repeaters in the back there. The reason that I do this is because you don't want the Jack-in-the-Box zombie to kill your firepower. Again, that's sort of a very dangerous point in this level. And then what you want to do is sort of the same situation that we did way back in Vase Breaker. You really want to try to align the zombies as best you can and squash them if you can get them in a big group, or use a hypno shroom on them if there's like a big strong zombie that's in the front and you feel that when he turns around he can sort of clear out the rest of the zombies in the back. And the pumpkins aren't very helpful, but sometimes you actually can use them to sort of hold all the zombies in place and then plant a more effective squash. So I'm going to restart this level here and sort of give you an example of what it would look like. So again, kind of starting in the back. Again, I have a lot of... Again, important to try to get your firepower out as early as you can. You can see here. Wasn't super quick about some of the firepower on this one. And again, you know, this would basically represent the end of the level. So not a bad example. Again, a little bit slow, you know, trying to talk and explain what I'm doing at the same time. But that's roughly how you want the level to go. Again, get the magnets out, get the firepower out as quickly as you can, and then again, just try to use your instance as effectively as possible. And like anything, you know, with practice, we'll make these things stronger. So the next level is going to be Scary Potter. Again, kind of giving you a quick overview of what this one looks like. I'm actually probably going to have to maybe even X out a little bit early. Again, this is definitely, from an execution perspective, one that will get me every once in a while. So you can see we have 4 Torchwoods in only 5 rows. We have 6 repeaters, 2 three-peaters, and then luckily 5 tall nuts. So the idea is basically try to plant your tall nuts in this row, plant a couple of repeaters in the back. You have 2 squashes and 2 football zombies, so very, very important to try to get both squashes on the hypno zombies, or more if you can, and then basically trying to use the Torchwoods in the rows that are the most dangerous, and you know, the repeaters and three-peaters to try to clear out the rest. And we've sort of gone back and forth with a couple different strategies, but what I like to do again is break the back 2 rows, and again try to hunt out that Jack-in-the-Box zombie as early as possible, and then basically go one row at a time after clearing out the back 2 columns. And I'll sort of show you what I mean in this demonstration here. So again, clearing this, again, try to get a little bit of the firepower. You can see here. All right, so again, with this row, I know I'm going to be relatively clear. This row already looking pretty good. Again, kind of, oops, you can see I already made a little bit of a mistake there. Again, use those squashes, very, very important. Definitely going to need one of these. Yeah, and again, this actually isn't going to be a horrible level. This would have been okay even in a PB attempt. Go a little bit long here at the end, but that's roughly what you want it to look like. Again, another important thing, I guess I hadn't mentioned it, is none of these levels are deterministic. So, in other words, the next time that I play, every zombie and every plant could be you'll always get the same zombies in the same plants, but it could be entirely in a different order. So it's not like we've figured out the optimization problem of you always click this first, you always click this second. Basically, this run is all about thinking on your feet and being able to react to the situation that the game gives you. So next level is Hokey Pokey. Again, just sort of looking roughly at what this one looks like. Again, I really wish we could get this thing out of the way, but you'll see a lot of spikeweeds, 3 walnuts, and 3 squashes. The most important thing probably is to make sure that at least one of the squashes gets on top of the bucket head. Otherwise, you're going to be using a lot of spikeweed for a long time. The other good rule of thumb is that the zombies will be killed by either 2 or 3 squares worth of spikeweed, meaning that if the zombie is slow, two squares of spikeweed will be able to kill him, but if he's fast, it's going to be 3. So usually we don't have time to like sit there and figure out like which zombies are fast and which are slow. So we always go either with 3, or if you see that you have a lot of zombies in a row like this, it's a good idea to plant a walnut and just plant 1 spikeweed and let, again, all the zombies kind of group up a little bit and stand on that spikeweed that's blocked by the walnut and die that way. This is another level where we tend to do 1 row at a time as opposed to worrying too much about the columns. So again, doing a reset, sort of show you what this one might look like. So again, we have a lot. You can see here I want to always try to use some of the older spikeweed first. You can see here, I actually missed that, so very unfortunate. But what I'm going to do here, actually, and I'm glad I got a chance to demonstrate this strategy, is using a walnut without any spikeweed, because I have 1 squash left, waiting till they're all aligned like this, and then boom, the level's over. Because otherwise, waiting for that last spikeweed could have cost me anywhere from a couple seconds all the way up to 10 seconds, which is how long it would take if 1 zombie was just standing there and getting spiked over and over and over again, because the spike weed does about 1 damage per second, and the zombies have 10 hit points. So there we go. So another chain reaction, very similar to the first chain reaction. Again, you can see here the strategy is pretty similar. I guess I was just going to talk about what we get on this level. But basically, this level has 1 more squash than Pogo Zombie, and you almost always want to kill the Pogo Zombies with the squashes, and then a couple of repeaters and some puff shrooms just to deal with the rest. So very important here is that you almost always want to try to clear out all of the Jack-in-the-Boxes as quickly as possible, because these Jack-in-the-Boxes will kill your squashes or any other plant that you have down. So they're pretty nasty. So you'll see here again, I'll try to clear out all of the vases first, but maybe occasionally throwing down a repeater or a squash if I know that it's safe to do so. So for example, it's always safe to put a squash in this row because the vases only go as far, or sorry, this column, because the vases only go as far as this column, and the Jack-in-the-Boxes have a 3x3 square radius. So again, looking at this level, how I would play it from scratch. Again, you start with breaking the vases in the middle to try to maximize the effectiveness of the chain reaction, so to speak, or the vases that get broken for you. Again, you'll see here, these I actually got very good luck with some of the Jack-in-the-Boxes. Again, dealing with these I can't even think of the word at this point, but some of these guys in the front, and then getting a nice 2-for-1 with a squash at the end. You can see the level. Again, this level on average will only take about 20 seconds. It's very, very quick. The next level, and again, these levels do get, in some ways, progressively more difficult. The next one is Ace of Ace. So just again, sort of showing you some of the trouble that awaits you. Obviously, you see there is one Jack-in-the-Box there. We have our first Gargantuar. And so forth. So again, you don't want to break all the vases because there's just no way that you can get, again, unless you have like task level reflexes, that you can get all of these zombies aligned. Basically, you don't have enough squashes to use 1 per bucket head and then 2 per Gargantuar. So you're going to need to either try to align some of the bucket heads together and get like a nice 2-for-1 squash, or kill some of the bucket heads just with the normal firepower, or try to kill some of the bucket heads with one of the Gargantuars at once. And the hitboxes are very, very funny on this level. So again, be very, very careful with the way you plant the squash. It can actually matter whether the squash is on the front of the Gargantuar or the back if you're trying to hit a bucket head that's sort of relatively to the front or the back. It's a little bit gimmicky. So again, you'll see here sort of my strategy is the same as before, sort of break some of the vases in the back and then sort of start to work through some of the rows. But again, you sort of have to improvise based on the plants that you're actually given. So again, we'll reset this level and I'll sort of show you what it would look like live. Again, the reason that, all right, so I got lucky that I found the Gargantuar relatively early. Again, you can see some of these early ones here. I'm sort of, again, you can see you get a little bit of like a blinking warning if the game thinks that you're going to lose some of the hypnos or some of the. You can see here I'm going to want to do this. I can see this is an indication that he's gone through half of his hit points. I was able to get a second squash off there, and maybe a little bit low on the firepower that was in this row. If I'd managed to maybe just arrange my firepower, put 1 more repeater here earlier, I would have been able to save about 5 seconds off my time. So again, this is not a mistake-free tutorial, but just sort of talking about some of the strategies. So next we're going to go into iZombie. So these ones are a lot of fun, but can be very, very challenging. And again, just to sort of demonstrate, you can sort of see what the layout looks like here. This is another one that's not deterministic. You know exactly what types of plants you're going to get, but you don't know where they're going to be. So this level is, this one is very interesting, this first one, and actually one of the more challenging ones, because you're always given 2 snow peas, which can really, really slow down your zombies a lot. So the trick with this level is basically to try to balance your sun collection with getting rid of the squashes, and with trying to get rid of these snow peas as quickly as possible, because you really don't want anything slowing down your zombies in this example. So again, just sort of, there's no perfect strategy, but again, you know, with something like this, I would probably start here knowing that this zombie is basically going to be able to take out this row on its own. I definitely want a zombie or two to sort of start to work on here. I might even want a faster zombie in this row. You know, start to put a regular zombie in this row. Again, once my squash is out of the way, then I can maybe start to use some stronger plants. Again, you'll see that, again, another squash in this row. Make sure that, you know, you don't waste any of your sun here. Very important. I'm going to try to get a third one here. And then basically I know that these two rows with the snow peas are going to be kind of the long lead item. So really start to throw all of my firepower in these rows as quickly as I can. Maybe should have put one more one more football zombie in this row. Could have helped the time by maybe a little bit, but that's roughly how that level would look like. But again, I could play this level over and over and over again, and it would always look different. Next is iZombie 2. So this level, the most important thing is basically that there are always, you always need 2 sunflowers in the front. If you don't, this level is just going to take way too long, and you just want to go and reset. So you can actually see, I've practiced this quite a bit, but I saved the escape key so I can go escape, reset, reset. Or again, if you're fast with your fingers, you can go escape, reset, enter. Again, that's maybe a little bit more difficult because you have to move your hand in 3 places, but this is sort of how I go, and I'll be able to look at this level fast and be like, you know, nope, yeah, nope, yes, 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 with those yeses and nos being whether or not I had 2 sunflowers. The next thing you want to do is sort of prioritize what plants you need where. So basically, again, there are always going to be these types of plants. So what you want to do is always make sure that you have a screen door in any row that has a snow pea. And the screen doors are basically effective enough to move along on their own. And again, if you play your cards right, you'll see that I had exactly enough sun for 3 screen doors and up to 2, and then either another screen, 2 screen doors, 3 screen doors, and then 2 of either a screen door or a bucket head. So I'll sort of show you what I mean again. So, and again, you always want to prioritize the rows that have the most number of plants, because those rows are going to get slowed down the most. You can see here, I actually, anytime that you have 2 spike weeds, you always want to put a bucket head there, because otherwise there's a risk that your screen door is going to die in time. But by the time he reaches the very end. So this is sort of the what I would call a very typical layout. You can see what I did here first was, again, start prioritizing the rows with the sunflowers, followed by the rows that had 4 plants in them, again, followed by any rows that had spikeweed, because again, your bucket heads are able to walk over the spike weeds without a problem, and so as a result, you can actually see like this top row is probably going to be done before some of the other rows, just because it has more plants to work through. So as we go back to the game, once you start to get a little bit more sun, you can sort of say, all right, what rows look like they're maybe a little bit behind, and again, you know, start to feel free to, you know, throw a couple more plants in, you know, particularly rows that maybe you placed a zombie very late on, or just any rows that seem to have some like slower zombies. It doesn't really matter because your initial zombies are almost always the one, but you can see here that this zombie actually caught up, as did this one, so as a result I'm going to be able to eat this brain about 1 or 2 seconds faster than I otherwise would have. So again, I think that was a pretty thorough overview of iZombie 2. The next level, again, everybody sort of has a different interpretation, but the level looks something like this. You're always going to get 2 potato mines, usually that are in the first or second row. I forget how many sun it is. I think it's 6 or 7 sunflowers, a couple torchwoods, a couple split peas, and then a couple regular pea shooters. My rule of thumb is here, because we don't have any very fast plants, I always reset this level until I get 2 sunflowers in the front. That's sort of what I found is basically like the long lead item. Like this row looks very, very tempting, but if I were to just sort of like play this out, like you can see here already, like I'm a little bit low on sun. I'm still waiting. Okay, maybe I can start to deal with this row a little bit. And I'm gonna need this. And you can just see I just don't have enough sun to be able to to be able to play this row or play this level very quickly. Again, once your potato mines are gone, you can kill potato mines either by using a digger zombie or by or just by walking a regular zombie into them. In this case, it made more sense to do 2 of the regular zombies. But in another layout, again, like if I had 125 sun here, you can see you can just plant the digger zombie and boom. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can get rid of. That actually kind of scared me. That was kind of funny. But anyway, so I'll sort of show you what this level would look like normally. So again, I actually got lucky. I got 2 brains there, or I got 2 sunflowers here. I know that 1 zombie alone is going to be enough to deal with this row. Again, always sort of try to prioritize your getting sunflowers, but also doing this. And you can see I don't want to lose this bucket head. So again, I'm actually very happy with how this went. This would have been near a gold split. This is a very, very strong level, and I'm quite happy with how I played this. You can see this zombie was just strong enough to make it through. Again, you know, at this point, this digger probably isn't going to do much damage, but that's, you know, that's the way it goes. He might get a bite or 2 in, yeah, not even. So anyway, and again, you know, once you have more sun, just again, same thing that we do here, just try to plant a few extra zombies in whatever row looks like it's going to be the most problematic or the slowest or the most difficult, and you can just beat the level that way. Another very heavy RNG level here is Totally Nuts, and I'm going to talk about a couple of different layouts that you might see here, and which ones are good and which ones are bad. So basically, you can see right from the get-go that your first zombie has to be a ladder zombie. Again, if you did something like this, like it's just going to be incredibly slow, and there's going to be no way that it's going to work out. I want to get back to a couple different layouts just so I can sort of show you some of the problems that you might run into in this level. This is just for demonstration purposes. So the best rows to plant your first ladder zombie in, and you can actually see the middle row is always going to be 2 puff. You're always going to have 2 puff shrooms in a regular in a sunflower here. You're always also going to have a sunflower here and here, but the rest is actually random. The other 2 sunflowers and all of the pea shooters, you're always going to have at least 1 snow pea in these 2 rows and at least 1 pea shooter in these 2 rows, but the rest of it is all random. You can get with all rows having at least 1 pea shooter. So again, like it's very random and very sort of difficult to determine. But the best row, the row that you want to target first, is any row where you have 2 sunflowers that are in the front like this and just 1 pea shooter, because you'll actually see this ladder zombie without any help at all is going to be able to deal with this row effectively, and he's going to be able to start without any backup, and he's going to be able to get this second sunflower right away. The next one that I usually do is I just do this row, knowing that, again, without much of a problem, I'm going to be able to at least get this sunflower. This zombie is going to die, but that's okay. And then with these rows, what you can do is you can either do 2 ladder zombies, or if you do 1 ladder and 1 regular zombie, that's enough. And in any of the rows that have these snow peas, the zombies just get slowed down so much that you actually always want to put 2 ladders, because the ladders are a nice counter. And then again, once you have enough sun, you can put the last ladder zombie, and again, maybe even an extra one if you feel like, again, one of the rows is going to be a little bit slow. So again, just sort of going at this level from scratch. We'll go from the beginning. Again, this is a nice row, beautiful row right here and on the bottom. So this is actually, I would say, relatively good RNG. Maybe not perfect. Again, there's a little bit of randomness with the zombie speed. You can see that top zombie, he really slowed down a lot. My next priority is going to be the 4th row, because I see some sunflowers that are in the back. Next priority is going to be this row, just because it doesn't have any firepower in it thus far. And then again, I always know I'm going to need to plant 1 more zombie. 1 more ladder. I actually should have put this ladder in this row. I thought that it was going to be a little bit slower than it was. But again, you can see this was a pretty clean level and a great example of how you should play this level effectively. It is possible if you get a bad layout, meaning that you get 2 pea shooters in each the top and the bottom rows, it actually probably is worth your time resetting at that point. But again, as you become more familiar with the levels and the layouts, you should get used to that more quickly. The next level is Dead Zeppelin. And again, this level, again, you can see right here, I'm salivating over this and wish that this was a real run in some ways, but this row is sort of all about what zombies, whether you decide to deal with the row via the balloon strategy or whether you deal with it via the regular zombie strategy. So here's a couple of rules of thumb. Any zombie, any row that has snow peas, always put a balloon. If it has a sunflower in the front, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just plant one zombie and sort of let him get as much sun as he can until he dies. He may not get all of it. In this case, he actually did, but you can see there that that's good. Any row that, again, has very weak firepower, you can see, just one or two regular zombies is going to be enough. You do have a magnet zombie here, so this is our first sort of introduction to the magnet zombie. If you plant a bucket head that's at least 3 rows away from the magnet, he won't lose his magnet, but if you plant one that's too close, I did that just by way of example, you can see that he does. And the other rows, basically, you'll want to play sort of by a rule of thumb. If you plant a balloon zombie in a row with a cactus, you can see that you've wasted your time. So what I try to do is plant a couple of bungees in those, and then once those bungees have cleared out the cacti, just go balloon, and as you can see here, the level will be over quickly. So I'll sort of give you an example in real time just to sort of show you what I would do. Again, this isn't a great example, but I'd actually go 3 zombies in this one. 3 zombies in this one. I'm going to go 2 zombies in this one just to clear out this cactus, because that's a little bit faster. 1 zombie here just to give me a little bit more sun. And then go balloon, and balloon. And again, since I have a little bit extra firepower, just in case this zombie dies, which I don't think he's going to, again, just as a little bit of a backup strat. And you can see here, I'm actually very, very happy with how I played this one too. This would have been maybe just a couple seconds off my gold time. So again, very, very good. But this is another one that I would say, if you don't get a lot of sun in the front, we'll see if we can find an example of like a really bad layout. Or if you have just too many sunflowers that are towards the back of the level. Actually, all these layouts have been pretty decent so far. I don't love this layout, for example. Yes, like this row is very, very nice, and you can get a little bit more sun here. But you can see I'm gonna like sort of start to run out of sun, right around now. What you can actually do is sometimes put a bungee in the back just to like give yourself a little bit extra sun. But you can see here already, this is going to be extremely slow. I'm already I'm already kind of falling behind. Again, this wasn't bad. Actually, I got very, very lucky with this. But if I just spent 50 sun more than I absolutely had to, this entire level would have been broken, and it probably would have been a reset. So again, you can see that we're really on the brink here. Sometimes the sun situation is very, very tight. Anyway, that's just an example of Dead Zeppelin. Now moving on to Me Smash. This is another one that's very interesting. So the strategy at the beginning is almost always to put 2 pole vaulting zombies right here by the garlic. But what's very important is what's also in the row with the garlic. Because you can see sometimes you get a beautiful, beautiful row like this. And basically the 2 vaulters are enough to just completely clear out this row. So this would have been an excellent level if I was playing it in real time. But sometimes you can see that I get some things like the snow peas or the butter that's in the back. And the reason that this is annoying is you'll see sometimes he'll really slow down the vaulter big time, and you can see that this slows down my sun production and sort of just slows down this row and really makes the whole thing a bit of a problem. So we'll sort of, and the other thing you really want to avoid is a snow pea in the back, because again, this is extremely difficult. It's almost impossible to get even if you put 2 or 3 pole vaulters, they just get slowed down so much. So always reset if you get a snow pea in the back on this level. So we'll say that this is kind of an average layout that I think I could demonstrate pretty well right here. So again, what I'm doing here is with the other rows, I'm going to kind of use a combination of vaulters, maybe a couple of bucket heads, and things like that, just to just to really try to deal with these rows. The other thing is, if you get a squash in the front, you'll see you can actually get the squash. You almost always want to use a gargantuar there, because you can actually see, this was a perfect example of it right here, that the squash the gargantuar will throw his imp zombie and clear out, and sometimes he'll clear out that back row just in time. And then again, once you get towards the end, again, just sort of start spamming your vaulters. I know I was talking a lot, so I didn't give a great example, but that's about what it would be. So again, this level is definitely more difficult, but again, start with some vaulters, and then use a combination of vaulters and regular and/or buckethead zombies, and then if you have a squash in the front, use a gargantuar, because there's sometimes that's all you need to clear out that row. And if not, the gargantuar is still going to do work for you, and you definitely have an ample amount of sun on that one. The next one is actually one of the most difficult levels, I would say, in the entire run, and that's Zomboogie. You want to reset this level, in my opinion, if you don't have 3 sunflowers in the front. Because you can see right here that, again, it can become... Usually what I'll do here is, again, your temptation for newer runners might be to use the Dancer Zombie. But that's actually not the solution. The Dancer Zombie basically just ends up being too slow and too cumbersome to be able to deal with this level effectively. Then basically what I want to do here is really just sort of spam... vaulters, and again, I'm trying to look a little bit in advance here just to sort of see, what rows might have the biggest problems. And basically just sort of try to clear out all of the zombies in the front so that your vaulters can sort of continue moving as quickly as possible. Oh yeah, and don't do what I just did there, and set the vaulter up for death, because the potato mine actually has a bit of a hitbox in the front and in the bottom. So I'm going to reset this one just to sort of give you a demonstration of what this level would look like. Again, it met my rule of thumb. Unfortunately, this level is actually going to be pretty difficult, because you can see I probably actually would have reset this one in an actual playthrough, because again, there are a lot of you can see I go 1, 2, 3 here, because I know that there's there are some chompers in the back, but you can see here there's a lot of sun that was in the back of this level. So again, it ended up like really kind of slowing down this level, I would say by quite a lot. So that's the reason I would have wanted to reset this one. And also there's really zero reason to use the to use a buckethead. There's no damage to your plants other than the instance, and so that you can see I got a little bit unlucky there. So again, this is a better example, though not a perfect one, of what I would have done to deal with this level. Again, not perfect. I should have been planting these vaulters a little bit earlier, but that's what we get. The next level you'll see here is 3-Hit Wonder. Again, another very, very difficult level. This is another example where I really look for 2 things whether I decide whether I'm going to play or reset the level. Keep in mind, each reset costs about 2 seconds, so you don't want to get into the point where you're like resetting 10 times trying to look for the perfect level, because then you've already wasted more time than you would have by just playing the level out normally. But there's sort of 2 things that I look for in this level. The first is how many sunflowers are close to the front. I like to see 4 or 5 sunflowers, if possible, in the first 2 rows, particularly in the first row. Having at least 2 in the first row, in my opinion, is like almost essential. The next thing that I look for is the placement of the magnet zombies, because again, the more the magnet zombies are to the back, the more difficult they are to destroy, and the more centralized the magnet zombies are, the more rows that they affect. Like right now, I would be able to, not that I would do this first, but I would be able to plant this ladder zombie right here. But again, if there had been a magnet in any of these top 3 rows, I wouldn't have been able to. Also, feel free to use the bungee zombie to deal with the magnets. It is faster than, or you can spam 2 ladder zombies in a row. Sometimes that's what I'll do if I'm just like, I don't care, I just want, and you can see again, they only have this like 3x3 range here, and sometimes, you can plant double ladders, again, not that I would have played this level like this, whatsoever, but, you can kind of, you can sort of start to deal with some of these rows, in other ways. Anyway, so I'm going to sort of, keep resetting this level. I wouldn't play that. Not enough sun. Not enough sun. Yes, enough sun. So this is a good example of a level that I would play. So again, I planted a cone head here. Again, because I wanted to, pretty quickly and efficiently be able to deal with this one. I'm actually going to plant just a couple of. You can see here I'm not too worried about this. Although I actually probably should have gone a little bit heavier into that third row, kind of prioritizing the sun a little bit, because I kind of knew there was a good chance I was going to run out of sun. And then again, once you're sort of secured, again, the ladder zombies are fast and strong, so they're really your best friend in this level. No reason to use the digger at all in this level. The magnet counters him, the squashes counter him, the potato mines counter him, all that sort of stuff. So again, that's really pretty much a worthless zombie in this level. And the very last one is all your brains. So again, this is another one that you can reset pretty regularly. What I look for, actually, this is a near perfect layout. My two thoughts are, again, how close is the magnet to the front of the level, and how many sunflowers do I have at the front of the level. So this is absolutely an example of a level that I would want to play, and I'll show you why. My strategy is usually go 2 cone heads in these rows, if there are sunflowers available, and then basically go double ladder zombies, because usually there's some good sunflowers and sun protection in this level, and you can see that this once the magnet gets eaten, you basically have free reign to kind of to do whatever you want. Again, sometimes I'll sort of mix in a couple other types of zombies here. Again, the football zombies are, once your magnet is gone, the football zombies are excellent for some of these back rows. And then again, just sort of spam your imps. Be careful, because again, the starfruit can be a little bit of a pest. But again, this was a good example. So again, I'll play through this one more time, because it is very difficult. This is one I would not play. Reason being, although it's very nice that the magnet is in the front, I only have 1 sunflower right here. And once I do my double ladder zombie trick, there's no sun all the way to the back. Basically, there's way too much sun in the back right here. And it's a lot of trouble. The other thing is, sometimes if you're feeling a little bit greedy, if you do have a level like this, it's not a bad idea. You can throw 1 vaulter here if you just need, just a little bit more sun. He does help your production out a little bit, although it does end up dying pretty quickly. So again, I'll reset. Again, I don't like this layout, because even though, again, the magnet's close to the front, there's just not enough sun in the early part of the level to for it to be any good. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here. This is a good level. So again, what I'm going to do here, you can see, again, you almost always want to put your, unless it's going to be affected by an instant, again, I need just a little bit more sun to sort of deal with the problems we see here, and put this guy here. I'm gonna try to throw a couple imps in these rows to see if I can clear them out a little bit quicker. I'd actually be in a little bit of trouble. Again, I didn't end up having quite as much sun. I maybe wasted just a little bit too much sun on this level. Go here, go imp. Yeah, it ended up not being the greatest level to play, but again, you'll sort of see, how the level looks roughly by the very end. And again, once you have enough sun, just spam the imps. Yeah, you might lose 1 or 2 of them, but they can really help speed along the last few. They're actually a little bit faster than the football zombie. So that's about it. Anyway, again, I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, I really wanted to go in depth and sort of talk about, when do I reset a level? What are some of the problems that you might run into with each of the levels? This wasn't necessarily a perfect playthrough, but that's about what we get. So what I am going to do, I am going to do a couple of attempts now, but I'll end the tutorial now. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord. You can message me on Twitch, you can message me on Twitter, you can message me on speedrun.com. I'll post this tutorial here, as well as on YouTube. You can find me either at Warmech or at Warmech Gaming. In all of those locations. Again, I do hope you enjoyed the content, and consider playing the all puzzles category. I was a little bit reluctant to it at first, but I really thought that this was that again, it was a great category, and now honestly in some ways it might be my favorite category of all the major categories. Only takes about 15 minutes, and again, it's a lot of fun, and really, like, you have a lot of skills and a lot of the game's mechanics that you really need to perfect in order for it to be good. So again, thank you all for watching, and I'll be sort of moving on with my stream with the rest of with the rest of my attempts. But again, hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and take care. Again, those of you sticking around, I'm going to quickly stop the stream and come back, sign on very quickly, just so that Twitch separates these two videos a little bit more easily.